The first lighthouse at Oswego was installed on the grounds of Fort Ontario on the east shore of the Oswego River in 1822 and was active until the mid-1830s. Initially, other than a nominal seasonal fur trade, the early harbor of Oswego saw little activity. With the opening of the Erie Canal in 1825 and the completion of the Oswego Canal in 1828, Oswego became a major port on Lake Ontario. The dramatic increase in trade called for the building of a new lighthouse. The Inner Harbor Light was constructed in 1836 at the end of a wooden pier. With the dawning of the industrial age, the port activity in Oswego took another giant leap in activity in the 1860s, and in 1869, the lighthouse was raised 25 feet and a stronger lens placed at the top so that it would be visible from a greater distance. In 1880, a second breakwater was constructed and the Outer Harbor Light placed on it. That light operated until the early 1930s. For a while, both the Inner and Outer Harbor Lights greeted mariners entering the port of Oswego. But with the building of a grain elevator in the 1920s, the pier it was on had to be lengthened and the Inner Harbor Lighthouse was removed. Modernization was the cause of death of the Outer Harbor Light. New apparatus had made the light obsolete, and it was decided that rather than upgrade the light, it would be more efficient to build a new, more modern facility that could more easily keep up with the changes in technology. In 1934, the new lighthouse was constructed. The harbor had been widened. The two piers had been rebuilt, this time of stone, and a new breakwater connected them. The Oswego Pierhead Light was placed at the end of the pier on the site of the old Outer Harbor Light.
In addition to maintaining just the Oswego West Pier Lighthouse itself, there were several other lights in Oswego, and there still are today, that had to be managed and maintained. They had to manage and maintain all the equipment in the lighthouse. They had a machine shop, generators, compressed air foghorn. You know, there was always brass to polish, and maintenance of the lighthouse itself, the actual physical structure, was astronomically important. So they were always painting or chipping ice or recording the weather. It also served as a weather station for a time, doing all sorts of other tasks.
Coast Guardsman Ned Goebricher was one of the last lighthouse keepers at Oswego.
Well, you got 1 day off and 2 days on. So the 2 days you were there, basically you worked 12 hours a day. So there were two people and you just split the thing down the middle. Most of the time it was quite boring, but some of the times you were scared to death, especially during lightning storms, because the lightning always knocked the radio beacon off the air, and you had to scramble to get it back up. Well, it's about 1.5 miles offshore, and some days it's a really easy boat ride, and some days it's not. And some days they didn't go at all, and they just left the crew there until the next day when the weather got better.
No one lived at the modern lighthouse. Every day, a Coast Guard keeper made the trip by boat out to light the beacon. During a particularly bad storm in December of 1942, the Coast Guard lightkeeper was trapped at the light, unable to make it to shore. After 3 days, the Coast Guard made an attempt to relieve him of his shift, but the storm was still pretty bad and the boat capsized. 6 of the Coast Guard men lost their lives, including the keeper who had been trapped at the light. Shortly thereafter, the Oswego Light was automated and remains in use today. The Coast Guard removed the rotating 4th order Fresnel lens in 1995 and replaced it with a new VRB-25 lantern. The light is now solar powered. The old Fresnel lens can now be seen at the H. Lee White Maritime Museum. The City of Oswego and the Maritime Museum took over ownership of the lighthouse in 2009, and the museum acquired the lease of the lighthouse from the city in 2014. They began a restoration project using mostly volunteer staff and have opened the lighthouse for tours.
We have tours every Friday and Saturday, and I like to give them a quick history of the lighthouse. And we just take them around, show them the different rooms, and stress how much restoration has been done, because the lighthouse was empty for several decades after it had been automated. So when they finally started the restoration, it was in very bad shape. So we're very proud of how much has been done.
The lighthouse is designed to be a place for public access, a place for education, a place for access to it as a cultural site. So our goal is to get it completely restored in its 1934 vintage, and then enter into a maintenance cycle where we maintain the physical structure and continue to provide public access to that site as a destination for travel and for education.
Now available on DVD or Blu-ray, the WPBS TV production of New York's Seaway Lighthouses, featuring the fascinating histories of over 20 different lighthouses along the shores of New York's Seaway Trail. Order your copy today.
New York Seaway Lighthouses is sponsored by the Department of the Interior National Park Service and by Taste New York at the North Country Welcome Center overlooking the Thousand Islands Bridge.